certain groups if they don't want to be in there.
The problem we have in Nigeria is not just with the government, it's also with the rich people of Nigeria. What do I mean by that? Simple as this. The people who own businesses in Nigeria or the wealthy people in Nigeria have no respect or even, they don't even see Nigerian people as like real people. They have no concept of human decency. Let me give you an example. I went to my ex-husband's family's factory. They're a wealthy family, very, very wealthy family. They own like 5 factories in Nigeria. And when I walked in, I'm looking at their employees working in underwear at the factory. You can tell that some people live at the factory. It was just so fucking vagabond. And when I brought it up and asked about it, they told me, oh no, you can't pay them too well. If you pay them too well, they'll leave. Like the excuse that I was giving, and it gets worse. So then I'm looking at like the fact that his father went and copped a brand new 2024 Range Rover, like all the cars they have, they're like, and I'm just in my head. So you're telling me that if you pay these people beyond minimum wage, even if it's just 100, like it will be too much. The fact that business owners in Nigeria do not pay their employees enough for them to be fucking current, for them to even survive Nigeria, blows my mind. Like, do you know that if you pay people better, the economy will grow because people will spend money, people will invest money, people will become entrepreneurs, more businesses, more. It's not just bad government. We have bad business owners, bad wealthy people. If you own a company in Nigeria and you want to go buy a fucking Rolls Royce and you know that your employees can't afford their rent, to eat, to bathe, to use phone, you are fucking horrible. And I hope that fucking car you crash with you in it. You are fucking stupid. So when you talk about bad governance, also hold accountable to all the rich go through Nigeria and don't do anything to help the country. Fuck you guys.
Man, I could feel her sentiments. You know, I used to think that it was about money and greed. But the more I learn stuff and the more I see that it's really more about power and control. And it's about being able to stunt on people, being able to say I'm better than them, being able to look down on other people. Because like she said in this, you know, you it's good for the economy if you pay your employees better. They'll be able to pay for more products and services from your company. You know, it's it doesn't really make sense. It really doesn't make sense until you look at it and say that they just want to keep these people in control. Because if you are just living check to check, you know, they know you're coming to work tomorrow. Because if you don't, you're going to be evicted. You're not going to have food to eat. You're going to starve. You're going to be living under the bridge. You know, and then they can continue to say that I'm better than them. You know, I can look down on them. I have luxury this and luxury that, and they don't. You know, it's to make people feel, you know, superior. You know, it's like you put a rat in a maze, then you know which way the rat's gonna go because he only has so many options of where to go in the maze. You take the rat out of the maze, then you don't know which way he's going to go. So you don't feel as superior over it, if that makes any sense. It's horrible. Comments. Chakabar's posted this. His caption is, all corrupt business owners do this, but in Africa it'd be crazy. This is crazy. What's going on in Nigeria? Comment says, she has a point, but sad thing is the same employees you feel sorry for, if given loads of money tomorrow, 90% of them will do exactly the same to other employees. It's like a normalized cycle. It's so hypocritical because we moan a lot and always blame the rich and government, yet 90% of us As soon as you get rich, like a revenge, bad treatment to others. I agree with this comment right here. I think that there's a lot of truth to that right there. Again, though, it goes back to that stunting thing. The people, they want to stunt on people. I want to look better than my neighbor. I want to have a newer car than my neighbor. I want to have more square footage than my neighbor. I want to have a higher salary than my neighbor. And it's like, it doesn't matter how comfortable I am, even when it gets to the point where you're like super rich. It's like, I got a yacht. Well, I want to have a yacht that I can park inside my other yacht and have a golf course on it and a helicopter pad, because it's bigger than my neighbor's yacht or whatever. And it's like, yeah, I don't know what the answer is to this. It's a programming, it's a brainwashing, it's a sociopathic, psychopathic mentality that is being created or manipulated into. Yeah, I don't know what the answer is to this. I mean, like, you kind of got to have a certain personality anyways to get to the point where you're like a billionaire or whatever, because I don't think that I could ever make it to that, because I'll keep on trying to help people around me, and I'm never going to be able to make it to $1 billion if I'm helping people all the time. So, in our society, we look up to people who have lots of money and hoard wealth and are selfish and psychopathic and sociopathic. We look up to these people. Like, it would be weird, like, I saw a meme. It's a meme that floated around. It was about, like, it said, like, if it was a monkey and they had all the bananas piled up, and the other monkeys didn't have any bananas, and the one monkey piled up all the bananas and kept them for himself or whatever, then they would want to psychologically test that monkey and figure out what the hell was wrong with them. But it's the same concept with us, with money, and how we pile up money, but then we look up to that. We don't say that it's strange, that is something wrong with that person mentally. How much is enough? We're on the verge of having the first trillionaires. It won't be long before we'll have trillionaires. And I know a lot of people don't really understand how much $1 trillion is. Let's just say it's a shit fucking load of money, okay? It's a ridiculous, redonkulous amount of money. What is the point? What are you going to do with that? Like, why? What for? It really doesn't make sense. But we're trained to be hustle culture, make more money, make more money, make more money, and you are the example for everybody else. So that guy who doesn't really care about money that much and just wants to live his life and, take care of his family and live comfortably, he's weird. He's a loser. So you got to wonder where that came from. How did we get to the point to thinking like that? And who benefits from us thinking that way? It's like, when you look at the countries who have corrupt governors, senators, presidents, or whatever, and they screw over the people so that they can, launder money and they live a luxury ass lifestyle. Meanwhile, the people that they represent are living in squalor. And you're like, oh, there's terrible people. They're terrible leaders. They're horrible folks. They're corrupt. But that is what is taught. You're taught to be that way. You want to get that promotion. So you screw over, you rat out your coworkers, you lie about the stuff that you did, what you accomplished. You take credit for the work of the people underneath you. You know, you lie, cheat, steal, mess over all the people in your office so that you can get that promotion. And you're looked at as successful, you know, when you get that promotion. You know, you take a animal or creature out of their natural habitat, like you put animals in a zoo, and then when they're depressed or they act in weird ways, and you make fun of them and you point at them and you laugh at them, but they're not in their natural environment. You know, they're locked up, they're in a prison. You know, do you think that their behavior has anything to do with their circumstance, their environment? Comment, it says colonizers taught them. This sounds so familiar. Another comment, you might not like her, but she said her truth. That what it is in our country, Nigeria. What's a better way to speak up? She got my flowers. Another comment, boom, thank you for speaking truth to power, bless your life. Another one, she never cared until she got divorced. Nice try. Another comment, this is capitalism 101. Another comment, it's not just Nigeria, it's the whole of Africa. Another comment, the love for the colonial masters and their lifestyle is very strong among the Nigerian wealthy people. They are the kings and queens of gatekeeping and trying to keep the white man. Another one, I don't get why people think if you pay your employee too well that they would leave. If I'm getting paid a good livable wage, why would I leave? I want to continue to collect those checks. Another comment, it was never about democracy or thriving economies. It's power, control, and greed. Capitalism is not democracy. Yeah, your job is not a democracy, bro. And corporations are the one that have the power. They have the most power over your life. They decide on what time you get up, you know, what time you go to sleep, how much you spend on your rent, how much you spend on food. It's not the government. It's that company. It's where you work. And I wish people could see that. Um, you know, and this makes me think about, it was the lady, she got charged for slavery. It was a black lady. I want to say she was Nigerian. And she had these maids in her house. And she was in the United States. And she had these maids in her house that she took from, I want to say, Nigeria, and took their passports, you know, wouldn't let them leave, and basically forced labor. And she went to jail. And she was also a diplomat. She was like what was her job? She was like I can't think of what her job was, but she was like a politician type representative. I'm trying to think of what her job was. And she was like, I have diplomatic immunity. They was like, you're still going to jail. You know, for slavery, whatever the charge was related to, you know, having slaves in your house. I bet you she really thought that, given that she had diplomatic immunity, that she could just get away with whatever she, you know, wanted to do. And I wonder how much that kind of thing happens, you know, in these other countries anyways. But when you take somebody away from the country that they're from, and then you take their passport, and then you probably, you know, you don't let them leave, you probably don't really pay them. And then that shit is just crazy to be happening in modern day. And you'd probably be surprised on the people who are doing it. Anyways.
Harvard Yard defiant.
I have never seen that much